Hello and welcome to this B1 Usability Package e-learning session. My name is Rasmus Jensen and today's topic is the B1 Validation System Advanced, where we'll be looking into how the trigger of the validation system configuration works. So here we are in Business 1, and before we begin to look at the different triggers, we will need to have a universal function to work with. That would be the function that we would execute each time. So let's start by very quickly doing that. We just make a universal function. And in this case, we make it of type message. And we just call it function executed. So now we have a visual representation every time we do a trigger to see that it actually happens. In order to try out different validations, let's go to Administration, Add-ons, B1 Usability Package, Module Configuration, B1 Validation Configuration. Let's just put in demo trigger. And as we have a later session on conditions, we will just say we have no condition at all. We will just execute our universal function every single time. So let's find our message, which was this one. And now we need to work on our trigger in different ways. If we look at the trigger, it consists of 13 different fields, which in combination will give you endless ways of configuring this. There's only one thing that needs to always be there, and that is the form type. Form type is the type of window we work on, so a validation configuration will only work on one window at a time. If you need to work on two different windows, you need two different configurations. So in this case, in the sample, I want to work with sales order. So we just open the sales order for reference, and we will see that has form type 139 in the lower left corner. So let's start by putting that in. Before we go into item, column, row, and menu ID, I want to look at form mode and events. So event triggers are all about filtering, and we need to filter down what actually happens in the system, else we will just get our message every few seconds that the user does something. So the first thing we can do is we can filter by form mode. So form mode is the type of mode our window is in. So for example, right now I'm in add mode. I can switch to find mode. I can switch to OK mode. I can switch to update mode, and so on. So it might be that I have something I need to check in add mode, but I don't want to check it in find mode. So I have the way to take form mode here. So form mode, I have either I can choose all modes. So that would be, I don't care if it's an OK add or update or find mode, just the trigger should happen in every single mode. I can also do it in add mode, find mode, update mode, and OK, and some combination of these. Finally, there's also some advanced modes like history mode, that's the change log, read only mode, that's if the user only have read permissions in the system. So we can simply filter by this, but right now for the samples, let's just say that it happens in all modes. Next thing you should look at is the event. So the event is different type of user interactions with the system. I won't go into every single detail that is in the documentation, but let's take the most common ones. So first we have click, and item pressed. Item pressed is just pressing a button, while click is clicking into a field. So I'm clicking into this field while I'm item pressing this button. So click and item pressed, because a click is just left mouse down, while a item pressed is left mouse down and up. So if I click this now and I move the mouse out, I didn't do a item pressed, but I did a click. Combo box is just as this event list. So every time I choose a new value, this is an combo box select. So if you wanted to react to switching to another ship to address, that would be a combo box select you would trigger. Double click is what it says. You double click on something. Form load is opening the window. So that would be if I close this window. The actual displaying of the sales order is a form load. Form closing is I'm about to close the window, but it's just before it's actually been closed. So that you can use to validate or block that it's not allowed to close the sales order, for example. Form closed is actually when it's been closed. So after it's gone from the screen. Then I could go and say it's now closed or whatever I want. Got focus is I got the click event that was clicked, but right after that I also get a got focus on this column, for example. So I got a click and got focus on this field. Item press we talked about. Key down is every time I press a key. So if I press a Q, that was a key down, V, E, R, T. So every single key, I get a key down. And that is combined with the char press down here. So I type in the ASCII value of the char I needed to press. So I can take F1 and I can go into the trigger and see my item pressed. So I can see different numbers. So if I wanted to capture that tab was clicked, it would be 9. If it was the space, it would be 32, and so on. And I can do that with a modifier, so that control was held down while I pressed the tab key or something like that. Lost focus is just like got focus, because if I'm on the column field right now and I press down into the row field, 4 events would happen. The first event that would happen would be a validate, that is this event, would happen just before I got out of the field. So a sample on a validate is when business 1 validate if a date value in a date field is okay. After that, after the validate event, a loss focus will happen. Loss focus on this field, and the click event would happen, and the got focus event would happen. So you can see 4 events happen just by switching from one field to another. Again, a validate, a loss focus, a click, and a got focus. So that was validate and lost focus. Then we have menu click. Menu click is clicking on any of these buttons up here or any of the fields in here. So if I wanted to have that it was not allowed to go to find mode in a sales order, I could actually catch that and stop business 1 from going to find mode, as an example. Data load is an event happening. When I opened this form, I got a form load event. But if I navigate to the next one, I now get a data load event. So data was loaded into the screen. So that is the data load. In the same manner, I have a data add. So that's if data is added via the screen, if data is updated via the screen, or if data is deleted via the screen, if you can delete things. The The final two is column link pressed and column picker pressed. So column link pressed is me clicking the link button on an item code, for example, and the picker pressed is if I go here and press this, that is the picker. So these are the different events you can react to, and as you can imagine, a lot of events happens and you need to choose the correct one.